Hello, everybody in internet world. Welcome to Live on KEXP at home, and you can always hear us 24 hours a day at 90.3 FM in Seattle or streaming worldwide at kexp.org. My name is Troy Nelson, and today we are live via YouTube, still finding ways to connect people to the music. And today, that music will be brought to you by this wonderful group, Sorry. Sorry, are you with us?
Hello.
Hey, thanks
you?
for good. And how are you two?
Good, yeah.
All right, I'm with Asha and Louie here, and how have things been lately? Just still sort of hunkering down and creating music. I'm assuming that's what you've been doing the past few months.
Yeah, trying to. It's been very quiet, obviously.
And for the listeners, where are you two at right now?
We're in like northwest London.
Great. And we've got people commenting on the side. We'll reference that here in a little bit. But you two were not kind enough to record some songs for the listeners. And I figured we'd just jump right into the first one.
Cool, yeah. Nice.
Perfect.
Awesome. This is a
spend your rainy days with blazing in the winter sun. And when the hours are, well, I like dead birds in the heather. What are you to me? It's not easy to decide. I suppose we still have some time. We'll count the rainy days down till it reaches our thumbs. And when the hour is gone, we'll lie like dead birds in the heather. So what's a guy a girl to do, a boy to do?
wonderful song. I love the chemistry between both of you, and the instrumentation, the guitar work is fantastic.
Thanks so
Thanks.
much.
Is it true that when you first met and realized that you both love playing instruments, that before you came together fully, that you would sort of compete and try to outsong one another?
Yeah, a bit. But I was more admiration and a bit of competition. I guess.
Yeah, we just used to both upload songs onto SoundCloud, and then we'd listen to each other's, and probably there was a bit of jealousy, but I think it worked out well in the end.
Yeah, you just realized let's combine forces.
Exactly.
Well, once again, thank you so much for recording these songs for our listeners. I'm seeing lots of comments over here, people loving this. So I say we jump back into it. We have the song Perfect and also a cover song that we will talk about after the video plays. But let's listen to some more Sorry.
Wicked. Pick it up. Just pick it up. Just pick it up. And pick it up.
I used to have this girlfriend known as Elsie.
saw her laid out like a queen. She was the happiest corpse I'd ever seen. I think of Elsie to this very day. I remember how she turned to me and said, what good is sitting all alone in your room? Come, hear the music play. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. And as for me, I make my mind up back in Chelsea. When I go, I'm going like Elsie. Stop by admitting from cradle to tomb. It isn't that long a stay. Life is a cabaret, old chum. It's only a cabaret, old chum. And I love the cabaret.
Excellent. What drew you to Cabaret?
I just always sing at parties. My dad always used to make me learn the lyrics to it. I just really like the soundtrack. Just think it's a really good song.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have listeners chiming in from all over the place. I see that listeners in Istanbul, Mexico City, Scotland, California, Guadalajara, Paris, and a lot of people saying that you've released one of the best albums of the year, and the album is called 925 or 925. What is the significance of those numbers?
92.
It's 925.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when you get silvers, like the lowest grade of silvers, like 925. So it's kind of stamping, like when you finish growing up, kind of it's not perfect, but I kind of just want it to be abstract. Just want it to be like an abstract metaphor, kind of. I don't know, but I just thought it'd be cool.
Yeah, lots
It's
of people.
referenced in the Rock and Roll Star song.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not perfect, but imperfect. Kind of, we thought that was a cool idea for our debut album.
Yeah, and speaking of your debut album, what can you tell the listeners about James Dring?
James Dring. He's just a really good producer. We worked with him on Starstruck for the first time, and we just like gelled really well, I think, and we just got on with him really well. So we decided to do the album with him, and he was really happy to like work on the demos that me and Asha would start at home. So we found like a good balance between like demoing songs and making songs like weird, and also having like a studio sound to them. He's really good at that, and he's just a lovely guy.
And also, not too long ago, back when we were able to have in studios actually in our KEXP live room, I was lucky enough to sit down with the band Sunflower Bean. And it sounds like you have a relationship with Sunflower Bean. What can you say about them?
Well, we just went on tour with them like 3 years ago.
Yeah, we went.
Yeah, we just supported them on the tour.
They were really nice guys. Yeah, that's a fun tour.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun and incredibly nice.
Yeah, really.
Also, I saw on your Instagram different members of the band holding up some of their favorite albums that they're listening to. And Louis, you were holding up a Donny Hathaway live album. How did you run into that record?
I just love Donny Hathaway. That cover of Jealous Guy on that album, I think, is one of my favorite songs ever. And the whole album is just like so good. Like the musicians that play on that record are amazing. And it's like amazing that it's all just one take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's really pretty incredible.
Yeah, really soulful, powerful album.
Yeah, definitely amazing. I saw that also when you were working out a record contract that you wanted to put in there that you have to play with Alex G. And the funny thing is, so you didn't actually end up putting that in the contract, but it did end up happening. You did get to play
Yeah.
with Alex G. Was that just serendipitous? Did you make that happen with your mind?
We didn't put it in the contract, but deep down we knew that it was going to happen one day if we signed a done that. But yeah, that was great. He's one of our favorite artists, Alex G. So
Mhm.
touring with him and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, once again, we thank you for doing this. And,
Having us.
during these times, just still finding a way to connect people to music and to art and to artists this is what we're doing. And so we appreciate this.
This is the closest we've come to a live gig in about 4 months. So it's good for us as well, I think.
Absolutely. And it looks like there's a couple more songs that you recorded for all the listeners. Should we just go right back into it?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. You're listening to Sorry right here on live on KEXP at home.
Everybody dreams alone, on their own, privately, in unison. They fall asleep and drop like flies,
Love it. It's fantastic. Thank you again so much for
Thanks for
doing
having
this.
us.
I like looking at all these comments, and I'm very curious myself how these songs come together. Does it start with one of you bringing the bulk of a song to the table and then you collaborate, or is it just full on 50-50 collaboration?
It depends on the song, really. Some of them we start together, or some I'll like write the lyrics a bit at home, and then we do it as a band. They kind of vary. All the songs on the album kind of written quite differently, in a different way of writing them.
And I see that a listener named Stairway to Heaven 6 asks, what would be your dream collaboration? Is there an artist that you would love to work with?
Apart from Alex G, obviously.
Apart from Alex G, of course.
Maybe Frank Ocean. That would be really cool. I'm sure he'd be crazy to work with. Just so talented. And he does it in such a cool way. I'm sure it'd be super interesting to do with. I don't know.
And you've worked with Sean Oakley, who's worked with Frank Ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're pretty close so far.
I know, one step away from Frank Ocean. If you're watching, yeah, Sean was really cool as well. He's worked with he used to be Rick Rubin's assistant, I think. So he's worked with so many crazy people.
That's amazing. And also, do you have a love for Tears for Fears, Mad World in particular?
Our bassist really likes Tears for Fears. Campbell
bought my bassist is a big Tears for Fears fan.
But we were just listening to lots of him. It just because we did it with the Wonderful World song as well, so this kind of happened.
And that song Mad World, Asha made. One of Asha's first SoundCloud songs was like a remix to the cover version of Mad World. So I guess subconsciously it's always had a place in our hearts. And that's kind of fitting for that to be like the first song off the album as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to see such a resurgence of younger people enjoying Tears for Fears. And then I revisited it because growing up, I would just hear them all the time on the radio. And being young, I was like, yeah, whatever. And then revisiting it, I'm like, wow, the production is actually amazing on these records. And then I saw that they're still going. And then they did a cover of an Animal Collective song that is just fantastic. I was like, wow, they're still making great stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. They've got like some of the drops, like the drum breaks in their songs are really cool. Especially in that song Mad World, it's got in the chorus, it's got a really hooky like drum break, which we really liked.
And do you both have programmed drums and real drums on the record?
Yeah, some of them is a mix of both, really.
Yeah. So sometimes, like Lincoln our drummer recorded a lot of the drums at Ash's house when we were kind of demoing it, and then we'd kind of play around with them, but kind of still try and keep the rhythm of live drums, and then just like layer stuff on top to make it sound more interesting and more, powerful and stuff.
And for music nerds like me, when you are programming drums, are you using Logic or Ableton? What do you use to program the electronics?
Yeah, for the album, it was mostly done on Ableton. That's what I use. So Ableton is really good. You can like stretch stuff, and it's kind of not made for guitar music, so I can feel you can kind of experiment a bit more and get away with it. So yeah, we did a lot of it on that. And that was a really fun part of doing the album.
A listener named Diana is asking if there is any bass tabs available out there. Diana wants to learn the bass lines.
No.
We could get Campbell to write some up. We have people have been doing loads of bass covers of songs, or we've seen a few. So maybe there might be one out there.
This is great. The interesting thing about this whole global pandemic is getting performances like these, probably something that wouldn't have happened had we been pretty locked down. So that's what I love about this is these very unique, one-of-a-kind performances that we wouldn't get regularly. So once again, we thank you so much for taking the time to do it. And hopefully one day we can actually be in the same room and get you to Seattle and have a live in studio at the KEXP live room. So
Hopefully next year, fingers crossed, if all goes well.
yes. And is there anything else that you'd like to say to all the listeners before we go?
Just thanks for listening and
Yeah,
hope
thanks
you're
for
all
tuning
good.
in. We'll see you all very soon.
All right. Well, it was a wonderful time with Asha and Louie of Sorry. And thank you all so much for listening. And this has been live on KEXP at home. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having us, Troy.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.